I didn't disappear to punish her. That's the part she never understood. Even 5 years later, when she finally stood in front of me and looked relieved instead of angry, I left because something in me collapsed quietly. The way structures fail long before anyone notices the cracks. The night I found out, there was no shouting, no scene, just a conversation that stayed polite too long. She told me as if she were reporting damage to a car. Regretful. Precise, already thinking about repair. I remember nodding, asking questions that sounded reasonable. I remember thinking, with an odd calm, that I no longer knew who I was supposed to be in the room. That was the first thing I lost. Not trust, orientation. Over the following weeks, I kept functioning. I went to work. I answered her messages. I slept beside her. But something in me had shifted from participation to observation. I watched myself play the role of husband with increasing detachment, like I was studying a version of my life that would soon be archived. When I left, I didn't leave a letter. I closed our shared accounts carefully, legally. I transferred what was fair. I filed paperwork through an attorney who never learned the reason, only the request. I moved to a city where my name was unremarkable. I told my employer I needed distance, not detail. People imagine disappearance as dramatic. It isn't. It's administrative. It's a series of decisions made without emotional commentary. The hardest part wasn't loneliness. It was learning how much of my sense of worth had been negotiated through being chosen. I had always thought of myself as steady, reliable, enough. Without her reflection confirming that, I had to rebuild my identity from quieter materials. Time passed differently when no one was watching. I rented small apartments. I worked jobs that valued precision over personality. I learned how to cook for one without resentment. On weekends, I walked long routes through unfamiliar neighborhoods, letting anonymity do its work. I stopped explaining myself to people who asked where I was from. Eventually, I stopped being asked. I didn't track her. That wasn't discipline, it was necessity. Looking back would have kept me defined by what I escaped, rather than what I was becoming. Still, there were nights when I wondered if disappearing had been cowardice. If silence had spared me confrontation at the cost of accountability. I didn't excuse myself. I simply acknowledged the discomfort and kept living with it. Growth, I learned, is not the same as absolution. 5 years gave me a life that felt proportionate. Not happy in the way people advertise, but coherent. I worked for an organization that dealt in compliance and risk mitigation, boundaries, consequences, systems that functioned without emotion. I liked that. It suited the version of me that had survived. When she found me, it wasn't because she finally understood. It was because systems have memories. A background check flagged my old name as connected to a dormant legal inquiry she had initiated years earlier, never expecting it to surface. The notification went through channels I now oversaw. It arrived on my desk without drama. I recognized her handwriting before I recognized the significance. I could have routed it elsewhere. I didn't. She requested a meeting. The language was formal, cautious. No apologies yet, just confirmation. We met in a conference room with glass walls and neutral lighting. No private corners. No raised voices allowed. I chose the setting deliberately. She looked older but not diminished. More careful. Her eyes searched my face the way people search for exits. "I didn't know if it was really you," she said. I nodded. That was accurate. There was a pause where she seemed to wait for anger. It didn't arrive. "I looked for you," she continued quickly, as if speed could substitute for structure. Not at first, but after a while, I let the silence stretch. Not as punishment, as accuracy. She tried again. "I needed to understand." "That took 5 years," I said evenly. She flinched. Not from the words, but from the tone. I wasn't accusing her. I wasn't offering reconciliation. I was stating a fact. She told me she regretted it the moment I disappeared. That the absence had been immediate, clarifying. That she had spent years reconstructing events, conversations, trying to locate the exact point where she lost me. I believed her. Regret often arrives late and sincere. But belief is not obligation. "I didn't leave to teach you anything," I said. "I left because I couldn't stay and remain intact." She asked if I hated her. "No," I said. "That would require more energy than I'm willing to give." The authority in the room wasn't emotional. It was procedural, I explained calmly. That my current position required me to assess her request without personal bias. That another department would handle the rest. That there would be no informal conversations beyond this one. Her face registered the shift. Not dominance, finality. "So that's it?" she asked. "This is where my responsibility ends," I said. She looked at me then, really looked, as if measuring the distance between who I had been and who I was now. I could see her recalibrating, realizing that the man she had lost wasn't preserved somewhere, waiting to be found. "I'm glad you're—" "Okay," she said uncertainly. I nodded again. It felt sufficient. When she left, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt aligned. That night, I walked home through streets I knew by heart. I cooked dinner. I sat with the discomfort that never fully leaves of having chosen silence over confrontation, distance over repair. I don't pretend it was clean, but I also didn't disappear. I relocated my center of gravity. Rebuilding self-worth isn't about being seen again by the person who broke it. It's about no longer requiring their recognition to stand upright. Some consequences arrive late. Some power shifts quietly. This one didn't need witnesses, and it didn't need to be undone.